My name is Henner Schroder, and I sculpt molten glass. What you see here behind me is my Hotshop cruising at full throttle. Shaping hot glass on a large scale is a team sport that requires both skill and stamina. Yeah, but above all, perseverance. I use different crews depending on the type of piece I want to make. For the flame sculptures I'm planning today, I have assembled a group of 5 assistants to help me. Like many of my pieces, these sculptures begin with a detailed drawing made entirely of colored glass. First I sketch my design in chalk, and then I lay out lines of crushed glass. I often get inspiration for these drawings from ancient rock art. It can take hours of painstaking work to create these images. The next step is to make an intricate mold that is capable of taking extreme heat. For these pieces, I use hundreds of metal blocks that I lay out to form a flame shape. The mold is made up of 3 to 4 layers of steel, and it's reassembled for each piece. It's a tedious job, but with a little help, the process zips right along. We've got our drawing, and we've got our mold. Now, we need a punty. A punty is a typical glassworking tool, much like a blowpipe. An average punty is a steel rod, usually less than 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and about 4 feet long. This is our punty. Stainless steel, over 6 feet long, more than 1.5 inches in diameter, weighs in excess of 20 pounds, and has a steering wheel to increase torque. In this case, yeah, size matters. First, heat the tip of the punty in the glory hole. Next, dip the punty in 2400-degree glass, turn a few times, and come back out. The glass in this furnace is significantly hotter than it would be for blowing. And what you smell are just your eyebrows and beard singeing. We shape the glass on the punty using wads of wet newspaper. You heard right, wet newspaper. The steam created by moisture meeting 2000-degree glass protects our hands. Don't try this at home though. Now we dip a large steel ladle into the furnace and pull out a bucket of liquid light. At this temperature, the excess glass is easily trimmed from the rim of the ladle. Remember that drawing we started with? It's time to fuse it to molten glass. We let this casting cool and harden while we turn our attention to the larger mold. Using a bigger ladle, we draw more glass from the furnace. An empty ladle weighs over 25 pounds. When filled with hot glass, that weight doubles.
Back and forth, come to you.
We pour the first layer, but don't quite have enough. So I reach in with my shears and draw out the last usable glass. It's still not enough, so I pull some of the glass into the empty part of the mold. While my assistant gets another ladle, I pick up the drawing, now literally frozen to the casting, and set it on the hot glass in the mold. The next pour covers everything, and my drawing is floating inside the casting. While the flame sets up, I torch the casting to smooth out pour lines. We've been keeping the punty warm all this time. Now, we bring it to the casting for the touchdown. We torch the surfaces we want to unite, and we just stick them together. As the glass cools, the joint hardens into something that can hold this 40-pound flame sculpture. Or so we hope. This is a critical moment. Will the joint be strong enough? Will we be able to hold and control the hot glass on the end of the punty? It all depends on timing and temperature. We've lost more than one piece at this point of the process. In fact, here's what happened the last time we tried this. The touchdown points aren't hot enough, and the body of the casting is too cool. It looks plenty hot, but you can see how much trouble we're in. This flame sculpture has large cracks in critical spots, right here. We wrestle this piece to the glory hole, but before we can reheat or stabilize the sculpture, all hell breaks loose. Yeah, better on the floor than in the hole. But that was yesterday. Today I've made sure to torch the living daylights out of this thing. We push the flame onto our wooden flipper, but quickly realize we're in worse shape than ever. As the flipper bursts into flame, we try again. It takes the coordinated effort of the entire team to move a piece like this. Now we must even out the temperature of the glass and heal small cracks that form from contact with the steel mold. We use a large propane torch to keep the piece warm and an even hotter oxy-propane combination to heal the cracks. The team works as one with an emphasis on choreography. Communication is by sign and body language or quickly barked commands that can barely be heard over the roar of the furnace and torches. Once cracks are healed and the temperature is balanced, we can add color to the piece. I use tinted glass that's been ground to a fine powder. I apply the color in a filter box that draws the excess powdered glass from the air. I am too close to the action to rely on the filter box alone, so I wear a respirator. This further restricts my ability to communicate and drives my body temperature even higher. Now I examine the piece carefully. I'm about to push its limits as well as my own. The color, the composition, everything needs to be just right. So far, we've been keeping this flame sculpture as straight and flat as possible. This allowed us to heal cracks and apply color. But now, we're going to throw caution to the wind and go for broke. I take the wheel and drive the piece into the hole for the longest possible reheat. This glory hole has a 22-inch diameter. That's all the room I have to get this flame hot enough to fold and twist. The casting and the punty are 9 feet long and weigh over 60 pounds. Now under my control, the whole assembly must both fight and embrace gravity. Timing is everything, and taking a breather is not an option. As the glass gets hotter and hotter, the flame becomes softer and floppier. I must react with increasing speed and flip the piece back and forth faster and faster. Seconds before total disaster, I give the signal, and we pull the hot, writhing flame from the hole. Now I put myself between the weight of the hot glass and the pull of the earth. I let the piece slump downward, only to wrench it back at the last moment. I repeat this over and over until the flame sculpture twists and folds into shape. However, twisting this flame has produced enormous stress on the glass. Now we must balance the temperature, and that can't be done quickly. We begin reheats alternating between the hole and the torches, and we don't stop until the glass looks, feels, and moves just right. Stabilizing the temperature of the casting still doesn't mean we're done. Hot glass must cool to room temperature at a slow and controlled rate, or it explodes, sending shards in all directions. You can see in the background, my assistant is preheating his Kevlar mitts on the furnace door. He is doing this to avoid shocking the glass he is about to catch. We unlock the flame and punty from the rolling yoke and carry it through the studio. It's always a delicate and tricky operation as we tiptoe across the floor. The catcher stands ready while I quench the punty with water, cooling and fracturing the glass. Chilling the glass here enables us to split the flame from the punty. I must be careful not to splash the piece itself, as the connection between casting and punty gets weaker with every drop of water. As my assistant picks up the punty, I support the piece with my shears and give the pole a sharp whack. The flame cracks where intended and drops into the catcher's gloves. We already have finished sculptures in the annealer, so placing the flame requires great care. I do not want to lose two pieces to one mistake. This time, all goes well. This flame sculpture will take 5 days to reach room temperature. Once it's out of the annealer, the bottom is cut and ground flat. Then the flame is bonded to a cast glass base and is ready to go. In the meantime, we need to pick up hundreds of hot steel pieces before we can build the next mold. Yeah, but hey, that's what assistants are for.